Most gardeners think November means the growing season is over, but that's actually when some of the most productive crops should be going in the ground. After 30 years of gardening, I've discovered that November plantings often outperform spring sowings because pests are dormant and these crops actually prefer the cold. Today, you'll learn about 20 incredibly productive crops you can still plant this month, including why parsley planted now will give you 3 times the harvest of spring plantings, plus a bonus tip about using your thermometer that will double your success rate. Bok choy is one of the fastest producing greens you can plant in November, especially the Joy Choy variety which handles cold like a champion. This Asian green actually tastes sweeter after a few frosts. And when you plant it now in zones 6 through 10, you're looking at harvest-ready leaves in just 45 days. The key is giving it protection with a simple row cover or cold frame, which creates a microclimate about 10 degrees warmer than the outside air. Plant seeds a 1/4 inch deep and thin them to 6 inches apart once they sprout. The beauty of November planting is that flea beetles and other pests that plague summer bok choy are completely absent. You'll want to harvest the outer leaves continuously starting when they're about 4 inches tall, which encourages the center to keep producing new growth all winter long. In Zone 7 and warmer, bok choy planted now will produce steadily through March, giving you fresh greens when grocery store prices are highest. The plants can survive temperatures down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, but they'll grow fastest when daytime temperatures stay between 40 and 60 degrees. Radishes might just be the most foolproof November crop because varieties like French Breakfast and Cherry Belle can go from seed to harvest in just 25 to 30 days. These fast growers actually prefer the cooler soil temperatures of late fall, germinating reliably when soil temps are between 40 and 65 degrees. Plant them 1/2 inch deep in rows 6 inches apart, and you can succession plant every 2 weeks through November in zones 6 through 10. The secret to sweet, crisp radishes in cold weather is consistent moisture without waterlogging the soil. A light mulch of shredded leaves helps maintain even moisture and protects the developing roots from temperature swings. November radishes rarely suffer from root maggots or flea beetles that make summer radishes challenging. You'll know they're ready when you see the shoulders pushing up through the soil, usually about 1 inch in diameter. The greens are completely edible too, tasting like a mild mustard green that's perfect for salads or stir-fries. In protected beds or under row cover, you can keep planting radishes through December in Zone 7 and warmer, ensuring a constant supply of fresh roots when most gardens are dormant. Spinach planted in November is playing the long game, and varieties like Giant Winter and Winter Bloomsdale are specifically bred for this strategy. When you plant spinach now in zones 5 through 10, it develops a strong root system through winter and then absolutely explodes with growth come early spring, often producing twice as much as spring-planted spinach. The seeds need soil temperatures below 70 degrees to germinate well, making November ideal. Plant them 1/2 inch deep and don't worry if germination seems slow, as cold soil can mean emergence takes 14 to 21 days instead of the usual 7. Space plants 4 inches apart for full-size leaves, or 2 inches for baby spinach. The magic happens when spinach experiences short days and cold temperatures, which prevents bolting and encourages leaf production. Young spinach plants can survive temperatures down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit, and mature plants are even hardier. Apply a 2-inch layer of straw mulch after the ground freezes to prevent heaving, which can damage roots. Come March, while your neighbors are just starting to plant, you'll already be harvesting tender leaves. November planted spinach often produces well into May or June, far longer than spring plantings, which bolt quickly as days lengthen. Now, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more gardeners like yourself, who would also find it so helpful to avoid these mistakes. All right, let's keep going. Garlic absolutely needs to be planted in November if you want those big, flavorful bulbs come summer, and varieties like Music and German Extra Hardy are perfect for zones 3 through 10. This is one crop where November planting isn't optional, it's essential, because garlic requires 6 to 8 weeks of temperatures below 40 degrees to form proper bulbs. Break apart your seed garlic bulbs just before planting, keeping the papery wrapper on each clove. Plant them pointed end up, 2 inches deep and 4 inches apart in rows 12 inches apart. The biggest mistake gardeners make is planting grocery store garlic, which is often treated to prevent sprouting and isn't adapted to your local climate. Order seed garlic from reputable suppliers who specify the variety and growing region. Within 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see green shoots emerging, and these will grow slowly through winter, even under snow. Come spring, these plants will take off, developing those underground bulbs we're after. Feed them with a balanced organic fertilizer when growth resumes in spring, and again in early May. By July, when the bottom 3 leaves have turned brown, you'll be harvesting bulbs 3 times the size of spring-planted garlic, if spring planting even works in your area. Each clove you plant now becomes a full bulb of 8 to 12 cloves, making this one of the most productive uses of garden space. Fava beans are the overwintering champion that most American gardeners overlook, but the Aqua Dulce Claudia variety thrives when planted in November in zones 6 through 10. Unlike other beans that hate cold, favas actually need cool weather to produce well, making them perfect for filling that hungry gap in early spring when last year's preserved food is running low. Plant these large seeds 2 inches deep and 6 inches apart, and don't be surprised when they germinate in just 7 to 10 days, despite the cold. The plants grow slowly through winter, developing strong root systems that will support 4-foot-tall plants come spring. In zones 8 and warmer, they'll keep growing all winter, but in colder areas, they'll go dormant and resume growth as soon as soil warms. The payoff comes in April and May when each plant produces 15 to 20 pods, containing 5 to 8 beans each. That's nearly 100 beans per plant from a November sowing. Young fava pods can be eaten whole like snow peas, or wait for full-size beans that taste like a cross between lima beans and edamame. They also fix nitrogen in the soil, improving it for summer crops. Protection from harsh winds helps, but these tough plants can handle temperatures down to 20 degrees once established. Winter lettuce varieties like Winter Density and Arctic King are specifically bred to survive cold and keep producing when planted in November in zones 6 through 10. These aren't your typical lettuce varieties, but cold-adapted cultivars that develop thick, sweet leaves with none of the bitterness that plagues summer lettuce. Sow seeds 1/4 inch deep in rows or broadcast them in blocks, aiming for plants 6 inches apart for full heads or 4 inches for cut-and-come-again harvesting. The critical factor is protection from wind and the worst cold, which you can provide with a simple plastic tunnel, cold frame, or even just surrounding plants with straw bales topped with an old window. In this protected environment, lettuce will grow slowly but steadily all winter, with leaves actually becoming sweeter as starches convert to sugars in cold temperatures. You can begin harvesting outer leaves when plants are just 4 inches tall, and they'll keep producing from the center for months. A November planting in zone 7 or warmer can provide salads from December through April, while colder zones will see plants go dormant in deep winter, then resume growth for early spring harvests. The absence of aphids and other warm season pests means pristine leaves with no pest damage, and the slow growth results in thick, crunchy leaves with exceptional flavor. Winter hardy pea varieties like Meteor and Snowbird shatter the myth that peas are only for spring, producing earlier and often more heavily when planted in November in zones 6 through 9. These special varieties germinate in soil as cold as 40 degrees, and young plants survive temperatures down to 20 degrees or even lower with protection. Plant seeds 1 inch deep and 2 inches apart along a south-facing fence or trellis where they'll get maximum winter sun. The plants will grow slowly to about 6 inches tall, then often stop growing during the coldest months, but their root systems keep developing underground. When temperatures warm in late February or March, these established plants explode with growth, flowering weeks before spring-planted peas are even in the ground. You'll be harvesting sweet pea pods in April when spring-planted peas are just germinating. Each plant can produce 20 to 30 pods, and because they're maturing in cool weather, the peas stay sweet and tender longer than summer crops. The key to success is choosing true winter-hardy varieties, not just any pea variety, and ensuring good drainage to prevent root rot during wet winter weather. A 2-inch mulch after the ground freezes helps prevent soil heaving that can damage roots. Overwintering carrots like Napoli and Autumn King planted in November create the sweetest roots you'll ever taste, as cold temperatures convert starches to sugars in zones 5 through 9. These varieties are selected for slow, steady growth in cold soil and the ability to survive winter under mulch. Sow seeds half an inch deep in loose, stone-free soil, keeping rows 6 inches apart. Germination will be slow, taking up to 3 weeks in cold soil, but these patient plants are worth the wait. The carrots grow slowly through fall and early winter, developing strong tops that can handle frost. Before your first hard freeze, apply a 6 to 12-inch layer of straw or shredded leaves directly over the carrot rows. This insulation keeps the ground from freezing solid, allowing you to harvest sweet carrots all winter long by simply pulling back the mulch. The cold storage in the ground eliminates any need for refrigeration, and the carrots actually improve in flavor with each frost. By March, any remaining carrots will resume growing, often doubling in size before going to seed. A 10-foot row planted now can provide 40 to 50 carrots through winter and spring, with sugar content nearly double that of summer carrots. The complete absence of carrot rust fly in cold weather means perfect, unblemished roots. Multiplier onions, especially the yellow potato onion variety, are the most productive allium you can plant in November for zones 3 through 9, with each single bulb multiplying into 8 to 12 new bulbs by summer. These heirloom onions work differently than regular onions grown from seed, instead dividing underground like tulips to create clusters of perfectly sized cooking onions. Plant individual bulbs, 2 inches deep and 6 inches apart in well-drained soil, pressing them firmly so the tip is just at soil level. Within 2 weeks, green shoots emerge and grow slowly through winter, going dormant in the coldest weather but never dying back completely. The multiplication happens underground during winter and early spring, with each original bulb splitting into multiple offspring of varying sizes. Come June or July, when tops begin falling over, you'll harvest a full nest of onions where you planted just one. The medium-sized bulbs are perfect for cooking, while smaller ones can be replanted immediately or saved for fall planting to continue the cycle. These onions store for 8 to 10 months in a cool, dry place, and their mild, sweet flavor intensifies with storage. Once you have them established, you'll never need to buy onion sets again, as they perpetually reproduce themselves year after year. Shallots are the gourmet's secret weapon that actually prefers November planting, with French red variety thriving in zones 3 through 10 and multiplying one bulb into 10 to 15 new shallots. Plant individual cloves pointed end up, 1 inch deep and 6 inches apart, in soil enriched with compost but not too much nitrogen, which encourages leaves over bulbs. These sophisticated cousins of onions establish strong root systems through winter that support explosive spring growth. The green tops emerge within 10 days and tolerate temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, going dormant but rarely dying back completely. What makes November planting superior is that shallots need 100 days of cool weather to form proper bulbs, and spring planting often runs into hot weather before they're fully developed. Each shallot you plant now divides into a cluster of 8 to 15 individual bulbs, ready to harvest when tops yellow in early summer. The flavor is incomparable to store-bought shallots, with a sweet, mild taste that enhances rather than overpowers dishes. Fresh shallots store for up to 12 months when cured properly, braided and hung in a cool, dry location. At grocery store prices of often $8 per pound, a single row can yield $50 worth of shallots from a $2 investment in seed shallots. Tatsoi, particularly the rosette variety, forms beautiful flat rosettes that laugh at winter weather when planted in November in zones 5 through 10. This Asian green is even hardier than its cousin bok choy, surviving temperatures down to 15 degrees without protection and continuing to grow under cover even when snow is on the ground. Scatter seeds thinly and cover with a 1/4 inch of soil, thinning to 6 inches apart for full rosettes, or 2 inches for baby greens. The spoon-shaped leaves grow in perfect circles flat against the ground, which naturally protects them from frost and makes them easy to cover with a row cover or plastic. In 45 days, you'll have harvestable baby leaves, or wait 70 days for stunning 12-inch rosettes that look like giant green roses. The leaves have a mild mustard flavor that becomes sweeter and more complex after frost exposure. You can harvest individual outer leaves continuously or cut entire rosettes at ground level, and they'll often regrow from the crown. One November planting can produce from December through April in protected beds. The compact growth habit means you can fit 9 plants per square foot in intensive gardens. Restaurants pay premium prices for tatsoi, often $12 per pound, making this one of the most valuable crops you can grow per square foot. Collard greens are the southern gardener's winner, staple that becomes incredibly sweet when planted in November, with Georgia Southern variety producing continuously through winter in zones 6 through 10. These tough brassicas actually improve in flavor with each frost, converting starches to sugars that eliminate any bitterness. Plant seeds 1/2 inch deep, or transplant starts 18 inches apart, as these plants get large and need room to develop their characteristic huge leaves. Young plants shrug off temperatures that would destroy summer vegetables, surviving down to 20 degrees and recovering from even colder snaps if the freeze isn't prolonged. The traditional southern practice of harvesting collards after frost isn't just folklore. It's based on real chemistry that makes November-planted collards superior to any other season. Start harvesting lower leaves when plants are 10 inches tall, always leaving the growing center intact. Each plant can produce 2 to 3 pounds of leaves through winter, with peak production in early spring when warming soil combines with cool air to create ideal conditions. The absence of cabbage worms and other brassica pests in cold weather means perfect, hole-free leaves. A row of 10 plants can keep a family supplied with nutrient-dense greens all winter, providing exceptional amounts of vitamins A, C, and K when fresh vegetables are scarce and expensive. Kale varieties like Winterbore and Red Russian reach peak flavor and production when planted in November, becoming sweeter with each frost and producing heavily through winter in zones 5 through 10. These nutritional powerhouses actually contain more vitamins and antioxidants when grown in cold weather, with sugar content tripling after frost exposure. Sow seeds 1/2 inch deep or transplant starts 12 inches apart for full-size plants, or 6 inches for baby kale production. Established kale plants are virtually indestructible in winter, bouncing back from temperatures as low as 10 degrees and continuing to produce new leaves from the center crown. The curly varieties like Winterbore trap snow, which actually insulates the crown, while flat-leaved Russian types shed snow but are equally hardy. Begin harvesting outer leaves when plants are 8 inches tall, taking no more than 1/3 of leaves at a time to keep production going. A single plant can produce for 6 months straight, yielding 2 to 3 bunches per month through winter and exploding with growth in early spring. The complete absence of aphids and cabbage worms in winter means pristine leaves requiring no pest control. November-planted kale often produces right through the following summer, giving you nearly a full year of harvest from one planting. Beets are surprisingly cold tolerant when you plant varieties like Detroit Dark Red and Cilantro in November, overwintering beautifully in zones 6 through 10 for both early greens and sweet spring roots. These dual-purpose vegetables give you nutritious beet greens all winter, while developing roots underground that reach peak sweetness after exposure to cold temperatures. Plant seeds half an inch deep, and remember that each seed ball actually contains multiple seeds. Sow thin carefully to 3 inches apart once seedlings emerge. The seeds germinate slowly in cold soil, sometimes taking 3 weeks, but patience pays off with superior flavor. Young beet plants tolerate temperatures down to 25 degrees, and with a thick mulch layer can survive even colder snaps. The greens can be harvested throughout winter when they're 4 to 6 inches tall, and they're actually more nutritious than spinach with a similar but earthier flavor. By early spring, the roots will size up quickly, reaching harvest size before spring-planted beets have even germinated. The cold-sweetened roots have double the sugar content of summer beets, with none of the earthiness some people find objectionable. A 10-foot row planted now yields 30 to 40 roots, plus continuous greens all winter, providing 2 vegetables from 1 planting. Mache, also called corn salad, is the gourmet green that thrives in cold weather when planted in November, with the Vit variety producing steadily in zones 4 through 10 when nothing else will grow. This delicate-looking plant is deceptively hardy, surviving temperatures down to 5 degrees, and actually growing when soil temperatures are between 35 and 60 degrees. Broadcast seeds on prepared soil and barely cover them, as they need light to germinate. The tiny seeds produce small rosettes that look fragile, but laugh at winter weather. Space plants 4 inches apart for individual rosettes, or grow them thick for a carpet of greens you can harvest with scissors. The nutty, sweet flavor is completely different from any other salad green, with a buttery texture that makes it a French cafe favorite. Mache grows so slowly that weeds aren't a problem, and is completely pest and disease-free in cold weather. Each plant produces for months, with individual leaves regenerating after harvest. In protected beds or cold frames, mache actively grows all winter, providing fresh salads when lettuce is dormant. A single packet of seeds can produce 50 or more rosettes that would cost $40 at specialty grocery stores, where it sells for $20 per pound. Cilantro finally behaves itself when planted in November, with slow bolt variety producing abundant leaves without immediately flowering like frustrating summer plantings in zones 6 through 10. This cool season herb actually prefers cold weather and day lengths under 12 hours, making November through March its ideal growing season. Sow seeds 1/4 inch deep and don't thin them much, as cilantro grows well in clusters of 3 to 4 plants. Germination takes 14 to 21 days in cold soil, but once established, plants produce continuously for months instead of the mere weeks you get from warm season sowings. The cold weather completely changes cilantro's growth pattern, encouraging leaf production over flowering, solving the biggest complaint gardeners have about this herb. You can begin harvesting when plants are 6 inches tall, cutting stems just above soil level, and they'll regrow multiple times. November planted cilantro often produces right through winter in mild climates, or goes dormant, then explodes with growth in early spring, giving you fresh cilantro for months before finally setting seed in late spring. Those seeds become next year's coriander spice, making this a dual-purpose crop. A small patch provides enough fresh cilantro for all your winter cooking, plus dried coriander seeds for the spice cabinet. Parsley planted in November becomes a biennial powerhouse that produces 3 times longer than spring plantings, with Italian flatleaf variety thriving in zones 4 through 9. This herb actually grows better in cool weather, developing deep taproots that support massive spring production. Soak seeds overnight before planting to speed germination, then plant 1/4 inch deep. Even with pre-soaking, expect germination to take 21 to 28 days in cold soil. Once established, parsley is virtually indestructible, surviving temperatures down to 10 degrees and continuing to grow whenever temperatures rise above freezing. The slow winter growth develops incredibly robust plants that explode in spring, producing thick stems and large leaves with concentrated flavor. Harvest outer stems at soil level, always leaving the center crown intact for continuous production. A single November-planted parsley plant can produce for 18 months straight, right through the following summer until it finally sets seed the second fall. The overwintered plants develop such strong root systems that they're drought-tolerant come summer, requiring no irrigation once established. 6 plants provide enough parsley for fresh use, plus freezing and drying, replacing $30 worth of store-bought herbs. The absence of swallowtail caterpillars in cold weather means perfect leaves all winter long. Turnips are the underappreciated root crop that excels with November planting, and purple top white globe variety produces both greens and roots through winter in zones 6 through 10. These fast-growing brassicas actually prefer cold soil for germination and develop better flavor when maturing in cold weather. Sow seeds half an inch deep and thin to 4 inches apart for roots, or leave them thick for turnip greens production. Seeds germinate in just 7 to 10 days, even in cold soil, and plants grow steadily whenever temperatures are above freezing. The greens can be harvested when 6 inches tall and have a mild mustard flavor that sweetens with frost. Young turnips can be pulled at golf ball size for sweet, tender roots that are nothing like woody summer turnips. The beauty of November planting is that turnips size up slowly, staying tender and sweet instead of becoming pithy. With protection from hard freezes, plants produce all winter, with roots holding perfectly in the ground until you're ready to harvest. Each plant produces about half a pound of roots plus multiple harvests of nutritious greens. Turnips store exceptionally well in root cellars or refrigerators, lasting 4 to 5 months when properly stored, providing fresh vegetables deep into winter from your November planting. Green onions, particularly the evergreen hardy white variety, become a perpetual harvest when planted in November in zones 5 through 10, producing fresh scallions all winter and exploding with growth in spring. These cold-tolerant alliums establish better in cool weather than warm, developing strong root systems that support continuous cutting for months. Plant seeds 1/4 inch deep in rows 6 inches apart, or save time by planting sets or small transplants 2 inches apart. You can also plant them in clusters of 3 to 4 for easier harvesting. The genius of November planting is that green onions grow whenever temperatures exceed 35 degrees, meaning they produce fresh shoots even in winter during mild spells. Start harvesting when stems reach pencil thickness, cutting them an inch above ground level, and they'll regrow from the base multiple times. Each planting can be cut 3 to 4 times before exhaustion, providing fresh onion flavor from December through May. Protection with row cover or cold frame extends the harvest even in colder zones. A 5-foot row produces bunches worth $20 at grocery store prices, where organic green onions sell for $3 per bunch. The absence of onion maggots and thrips in cold weather means perfect, unblemished stems with no pest damage. Broadleaf mustard greens like the Green Wave variety bring spicy flavor and incredible nutrition to winter gardens when planted in November in zones 6 through 10. These vigorous greens actually prefer cool weather, producing tender leaves with just enough bite to make salads interesting without the excessive heat of summer mustard. Sow seeds 1/4 inch deep and thin to 6 inches apart for full-size plants, or leave thick for baby greens. Germination happens quickly, even in cold soil, with seedlings appearing in 7 to 10 days. The frilly leaves grow rapidly to harvestable size in just 30 days, and you can begin cutting outer leaves while the center keeps producing. With protection from hard freezes, mustard greens produce all winter, with peak quality during cold weather when growth slows and leaves thicken. The cold concentrates flavors and nutrients, making winter mustard greens nutritionally superior to summer crops. Each plant can be harvested multiple times, yielding up to a pound of greens over winter. The peppery flavor mellows when cooked, making these perfect for Southern-style greens, stir-fries, or adding character to winter soups. A single row provides enough greens for weekly harvests all winter, replacing expensive store-bought greens that often cost $4 per bunch and lack the freshness of homegrown. And now for the bonus tip gardeners swear by that will double your November planting success rate. Take your soil thermometer out first thing in the morning for 3 consecutive days and only plant when soil temperature at 4 inches deep consistently reads between 40 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. This sweet spot triggers optimal germination for every single crop we've discussed today. Most gardeners guess at soil temperature based on air temperature, but soil holds heat much longer than air, meaning you often have an extra 2 to 3 weeks of perfect planting conditions after the first frost. The morning reading is crucial because it shows the coldest soil temperature of the day. If you're hitting 45 degrees in the morning, you're golden for planting. Below 40 degrees, seeds sit dormant and may rot, while above 60 degrees, cool season crops may germinate poorly or bolt prematurely. This simple temperature check takes the guesswork out of November planting and explains why some years your fall garden thrives while others struggle. Professional growers never plant without checking soil temperature, and now you know their secret for timing. November plantings perfectly for maximum winter production. Thanks for sticking with me through the entire video. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more gardening tips, and check out our other videos on growing a better garden.